و بهار روی هر شاخه کنار هر برگ شمع روشن کرده است. باز کن پنجره ها را، بهاران را باور کن.
من ادامه میدم با یک شعر دیگه از رومی عزیز. نوروز بمانی که ایام شمایید، آواز شمایید و سرانجام شمایید. آن صبح نخستین بهاری که ز شادی می آورد از چلچل پیغام شمایید. آن دشت ترابت زده، آن جنگل هوشیار، آن گنبد گردنده آرام شمایید. خورشید گر از بام فلک عشق فشاند، خورشید شما، عشق شما، بام شمایید. نوروز کهنسال کجا غیر شما بود؟ نوروز کهنسال کجا غیر شما بود؟ اسطوره جمشید و جم و جام شمایید. عشق از نفس گرم شما تازه کند جان، عشق از نفس گرم شما تازه کند جان. افسانه بهرام و بلندام شمایید. هم آینه مهر و هم آتشکده عشق، هم صاعقه خشم به هنگام شمایید. امروز اگر میچمد ابلیس غمی نیست، امروز اگر میچمد ابلیس غمی نیست. در فن کمین حوصله دام شمایید. گیرم که سحر رفته و شب دور و دراز است، در کوچه خاموش زمان گام شمایید. ایام ز دیدار شمایند مبارک، ایام ز دیدار شمایند مبارک. نوروز بمانید که ایام شما.
و امروز برنامه را با هم همراه ملودی جان همکاران یکجا پیش ببره. ملودی مهم. خوب سال تمام شد، از خوبیایش برای همه ما الهام امید بخشید و از مشکلاتشان درس جدید همه ما آموختیم. این روزها بود که یاد گرفتیم که مهربانتر باشیم، قوی‌تر باشیم، عاشق‌تر باشیم و به هم یکدیگر همیشه کمک کنیم. اجازه بدهید که پروگرام امروز را آغاز کنیم و هر دوی ما، ملودی جان و من، کوشش میکنیم که در هر دو زبان فارسی و انگلیسی برنامه را پیش ببریم. So on behalf of the organizing committee, we send our appreciation for your presence today. We're extremely excited to be here and absolutely love all the beautiful smiles you have, the clothes you're wearing, and of course the beautiful energies you're carrying. So please, let's give it up for all of you guys. So today, Afghans, Iranians, Kurdish, Zoroastrians, Baha'is, Central Asian communities, and Somali communities across the world are celebrating what we call Nowruz. This year, Nowruz might look a little different for many communities, particularly people living in Afghanistan and Iran and other parts of the world who are suffering from war, they're suffering from social injustices, inequalities, and inequities. This holiday, which is certainly one of the most enduring holidays on earth, has somewhat been dampened by the state of current global affairs. But we're here gathered today as a testimony of the importance of culture and heritage in building resilient and sustainable societies, and of course, promoting peace and solidarity across regions, across generations, and of course, across diverse communities. Nowruz also provides an opportunity for all of us to promote cultural diversity and friendship amongst different communities. For example, today's event has been made possible in collaboration with several different organizations, both from the Afghan and Iranian communities. And today we're here, both Afghans and Iranians, celebrating two things. That's hope and resiliency. یعنی امید و مقاومت. امید به فردای بهتر و روشن، امید برآوردی شدن، امید برآورد شدن تامین حقوق بشر، امید به روشنفکری جامعه، امید به آزادی انسان و انسانیت. Today we're also here celebrating resiliency, which is مقاومت. Over 3,000 years, many groups, many empires, religious conversions, wars, you name it, have attempted to either suppress or ban the holiday. So today, as I look across the room, I'm still in awe at the fact that 3,000 years later, which was when Nowruz was first celebrated, we're still able to celebrate the diversity and richness of our culture. Our friends across the world, for example, our Tajik friends in Tajikistan, are still able to participate in something called Gulgardani, which is a flower growing activity. Our Iranian friends are gathered around the Hafsi table, and our Afghan friends are stirring the pot and enjoying days of Ramadan. All to celebrate.
Thank you, Nadia. Just before I start my speech, I want to do the land acknowledgement in English. We acknowledge that the city of Langley exists on the unceded traditional territory of Saanich, Coasalish, Pontalin, Powassan, Stolo, and Kitsilland. با عرض سلام، من ملودی محب هستم اینجا به نمایندگی از طرف جامعه ایرانی و سلام عرض میکنم و تبریک و تهنیت میگم این روز فرخنده و استانی رو به شما. باعث مباهات و افتخار ماست که عزیزان از دو کشور ایران و افغانستان دور هم گرد آمدند تا سال نو بهاری را، این فصل مشترک فرهنگی را با هم جشن بگیرند. نوروز در واقع آیینی برای پیوند انسان با طبیعت است و جشنی برای تقویت اتحاد همه ملت هاست. نوروز حتی برای مردم ایران و افغانستان هم فقط سال نو نیست، بلکه اتحاد و مقاومت ماست در برابر ناعدالتی ها و نابرابری ها در سرزمین مادرمان. پاسداشت نوروز امسال در واقع اعتراض به کسانی است که آن را در افغانستان ممنوع اعلام کردند، دادخواهی است برای حقوق زنان و تمام شهروندانی که از حقوق اولیه خود در ایران و افغانستان محروم ماندند. باشد تا روزی را ببینیم که نوروز توسط مردمی که آن را گرامی دارند در همه جای دنیا بدون سایه ترس و در آسایش، آرامش و در لوای دموکراسی برگردیم.
Please feel free because that's the essence of Nowruz, right? So today's event is composed of two parts. We have the presentations followed by a cultural show, so Nowruz Farhadi. So the topic of resiliency, which I spoke about earlier, our next speaker is on a mission to preserve and promote Farsi. Here to start the Nowruz program, please welcome Amir Bhatia, the president of Farsi WC. Amir.
خورشید تابان میان هوا نشسته بر اون شاه فرمانروا. جهان انجمن شد در آن تخت، شگفتی فرو مانده در بخت. به جمشید بر گوهر افشاند، من آن روز را روز نو. سر سال نو هرمز فروردین برآسوده از رنج روی زمین. بزرگان به شادی بیاراستند، می و جام را بشکران خواستند. از آن جشن فرخ در آن روزگار به ما ماند از آن خسروان یاد. Now in English. On Jamshid as the people's jewels streamed, they cried upon him that the new year beamed. On Farag and foremost, on this bright new year, bodies are freed from pain, all hearts from fear. New year, new king, the world thus rendered bright. He sat resplendent on the throne in light. سلام دوستان، سال نو رو به همه تبریک میگم. از طرف کارزار فارسی در بیسی در خدمت شما هستم که هدفش اینه که زبان فارسی رو به عنوان یکی از گزینه‌های زبان دوم به مدارس و مکاتب بریتیش کلمبیا بیاره که بچه‌های ما بتونن اونو یاد بگیرن. I'm representing, my name is Amir, I'm representing the Farsi IBC campaign. And I want to acknowledge a couple of people here. I want to acknowledge our Vice President, Mr. Abdurrahim Afan-Parwani. And another one of our board members, my dear friend, Sanjar Sohail. Hard to bring Farsi as a second language option to BC schools. And the curriculum has been developed by the courageous efforts of our friends Mariam Hajir, Mariam, and Susan Mazen. Susan. Teachers in School District 36, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, in Surrey. So, with that, I would like to get to the next part, which is presenting the greetings of the province of British Columbia, the Proclamation by the BC government. You can find copies of that just outside. To all to whom these presents shall come, greeting. Whereas Nowruz is known by many names, all meaning new day, and connects more than 300 million people in British Columbia and around the world with one another, with Mother Nature in celebration of rejuvenation and renewal while honoring the past. And whereas Nowruz transcends borders and unifies peoples of various ethnicities, cultures, religions, including people of Afghan, Iranian, Tajik, Kurdish, Azeri, and Baluch communities, people of Zoroastrian, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and Baha'i faith, and people who trace their heritage to many locations, including from Samarkand to Isfahan, Kabul to Tehran, Yaz to Sanandaj, Zagros Mountains to the Bamyan Valley, Amu Darya to the Persian Gulf and the Indian Ocean, Delhi to Mazar, and the Balkans. And whereas many communities who celebrate Nowruz prepare to welcome the spring of the traditions that include coming together to make samanu, samanek, one of the many names for this traditional dish, to clean their house, to cleanse their soul by jumping over the fire of Charshamba Suri, and to salute the new season with the half-seen table just over there, complemented with half mewa just over there, which is a fruit and nut compote representing growth and rejuvenation. And whereas Nowruz is associated with numerous legends, such as uprising led by a legendary figure often known as Kaveh the blacksmith, who defeated the evil of Zahak the snake shoulder, bringing justice and hope after a long season of darkness, just like what we're dealing with right now. Whereas those who welcome Nowruz invite all to share this message of unity, peace, and humanity. Now know you that we do by these presents proclaim and declare that March 20th, 2022 shall be known as the Day of Nowruz in the province of British Columbia. Thank you.
He's a media publisher of the largest independent newspaper of Afghanistan. He's also a thought leader whose mission is to be a distinguished voice of the victims in the field of transitional justice. Now, the his media publishing company also happens to have just over 2 million followers on social media. That's really not a big deal, right guys? So please help me in welcoming Sanjar Sahab from Kashmir.
Just kindly asking everyone to silence their phones because we are recording the signal. So please silence your phones. Salam and Nowruz Mubarak. My name is Sanjar Sahab and I am the publisher and founder of the Tejلیل newspaper, the largest daily newspaper of Afghanistan. First of all, I would like to thank you, all of you, for coming here and celebrating Nowruz with us. As mentioned, many nations in Central, South and Western Asia celebrate Nowruz on the as one of the most important days in the solar calendar, which means a new beginning and a new chapter with new plans and new resolutions. People from different ethnic, cultural and geographical backgrounds celebrate Nowruz here in BC and across Canada as well, which shows the richness and importance of this ancient and human festival. There is no connection between Nowruz and any religion because it was born and it was celebrated by people, by humanity all across the region without having any connection with any religion. Fortunately, Nowruz has been recognized as one of the international events of the humanity by UN and EU, and many countries, including Canada, has also recognized Nowruz in their official calendars. Unfortunately, for the past 2 years, due to the pandemic, we were not able to celebrate Nowruz in person. This year and today, we are all here together to not only celebrate Nowruz, but also we are here to connect, enjoy, and remind ourselves that how life has been hard and changed in the past 2 years due to the pandemic. This year is particularly important for many of us here as the battle to build and sustain a democratic society in Afghanistan failed, and we have lost the entire country to a primitive, extremist, and fanatic Taliban. The terrorist Taliban not only gained the control of Afghanistan, but they are also forcing their extreme ideology on millions of people in Afghanistan. Putting limits and restriction on people's freedom, liberty, and rights are now a common practice in my birthplace. Millions of girls are not allowed to go to schools, work, and move freely outside their homes. They are also not allowed to celebrate Nowruz, as the fanatic Taliban thinks Nowruz is not Islamic. Despite that, history shows that Nowruz stays and survives as the modern nature does not stop by the order of a bunch of extremist fanatics. An Iranian poet says, let's say in your assumption I got broken down and defeated, and my young stocks are wounded by the blow of your axes. What are you going to do with the roots? Let's say on this rooftop, setting an ambush to hunt birds. You are flying forbidden. What are you going to do with the chicks sitting inside the nest? Let's say you hit. Let's say you cut. Let's say you kill. What are you going to do with the inevitable root of the buds? I thank you all for coming here and celebrating Nowruz with us. Also, I would like to inform you that some of my journalists who have escaped Afghanistan and the Taliban brutality and been waiting in Albania for months are coming to Canada and to the city of Vancouver. So I'm hoping with their arrival, we will resume our journalistic work in the beautiful city of Vancouver. We want to continue our struggle for freedom and building a just society in Afghanistan. We are also committed in providing an impartial news and information platform for Afghanistan and for our diaspora community in Canada and around the world. I'm also hoping that our work contribute to the richness and diversity of our beloved home and country, Canada. Back in our region, on many occasions, we randomly choose a point from the book of Hafiz Shiraz, the greatest 13th century poet, Darwish and Sufi, and seek guidance and hope. Last night, I have randomly chosen the following point. نوبهار است در آن کوش که خوشدل باشی. نوبهار است در آن کوش که خوشدل باشی. باشی. بسی گل بدمد باز و تزار گل باشی. من نگویم که چی کنیم. من نگویم که کنون با کی بنوشو. با کی نشین که تو خود دانی اگر زیرک و عاقل باشی. چنگ در پرده امین می‌دهد پند ولی وعظ آنگاه کند سود که قابل باشی. در چمن ورق دفتر آل دیگر است عفو باشد که ز کار همه غافل باشی. نقد عمرت ببرد غصه دنیا و گزاف. نقد عمرت ببرد غصه دنیا و گزاف گر شب و روز در این قصه مشکل باشی. گرچه راه است پر از بیم زما تا بر دوست. گرچه راه است پر از بیم زما تا بر دوست. رفتار آسان بود در واقف منزل باشی. حافظا گر مدد از بخت بلندت باشی صید آن شاهد مطبوع شمائل باشی. Once again, happy Nowruz, and I wish you a year full of joy, happiness, and prosperity. Nowruz.
Thank you, Sandra John, for your beautiful remarks. And I must say, one thing that I particularly like about Sandra John is the fact that he is a big supporter of youth, and he always tries to embed or include youth in the development of the community programs. So thank you, Sandra John. Our next speaker is a scholar. He's a prominent figure in international relations. He served as a cultural and religious advisor to the former president of Afghanistan. He will give us a brief history of Nowruz and the importance of preserving cultural holidays. So please join me in welcoming the former Afghanistan ambassador to Egypt, Mr. Mohammad Mohammed.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate and thank you all for deciding to spend the day with us to celebrate the Nowruz. This year, Nowruz is taking place during a time when this tradition in Afghanistan has been attacked by the anti-cultural approach of the terrorist ruling the country. This anti-cultural approach of fundamentalist and extremist groups seeks to draw boundaries between human beings based on religious beliefs. This approach is rooted in a theology that sees an inexhaustible gap between God, humanity, and the world. In this theology, alienation, distance, distrust, and pessimism are the ruling principles, resulting in fear, hatred, and enmity. Culture and civilization started exactly from the point where humans took the opposite approach. When we as humans choose to make awareness, understanding, trust, empathy, comprehension, and cooperation, the bridges that connected each individual to the other, we created a common world. By valuing reciprocity, balance, and respect, and further by acknowledging our connection to the natural world, we were able to replace fear and suspicion with optimism and trust. In addition to forming bonds to each other, human beings have sought to get closer to nature and to all living beings in search of connection, whether with the land or the sea, whether with the waterfalls, the springs and rivers, or with birds and animals. And the interrelation and interdependence that exists in our communities is invaluable and cause for celebration. Nowruz is a philosophy of celebrating the natural world and our place within it. For nations from India to Caucasus, and from Central Asia to the Balkans. Great mistakes, whether those who are raised in Islamic circles such as Jalaluddin Rumi and Muhyiddin al-Arabi, or those who are raised in Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, or the various rich indigenous cultures of Turtle Island, have recognized the need for friendship and connection with the world, with God, the spirit of the universe, and with the eternal origin of existence. Over time, this approach paved the way for familiarity between human beings, for sharing their joys, sorrows, pains, and desires, and helped build a human world based on solidarity and cooperation. The achievements of the great human civilization in the east and west of the world are the result of this convergence, closeness, and trust. Extremists and fundamentalists have consistently taken the opposite view. Kindness, if present in their dictionaries, is only for the few who sympathize with them, and trust is worthy only for those who have renounced their individuality and have melted their identity in their ideological delusions. Understanding, trust, and empathy are minimal in the fundamentalist approach, and most human beings are excluded. In such an ideology, God pays attention to a very small number of human beings, and the rest of human beings deviate from the path of truth and walk in the path of the devil. The world and life have no value, and this takes precedence over life. It is not unexpected that terror and suicidal operations become part of the ground practices of these groups. Although our world has overcome fascism, it still remembers the troubling experiences of its time. There is now a danger of fundamentalism and religious extremism, especially when major political establishments seek to use it as a tool. The horrors of fascism will be repeated if these groups acquire access to weaponry. Today, vast lands from Central Asia to the Middle East are at risk of being overtaken by this ideology. Taliban have officially banned Nowruz celebration in Afghanistan, as they, in the previous period of their rule, destroyed the largest statues of Bouddha, which was one of the most valuable civilizational and cultural relics of antiquity. The other version of the Taliban, ISIS in Syria, razed the Palmyra temple and destroyed hundreds of antiquities. This approach is rooted in the anti-culturalism of these groups, because cultures are the bedrock of human connection, both connecting us to the past and connecting us with the others in this age. They see their victory in widening the gap and spreading fear, mistrust, and resentment. They build their delusive empire on fear and hatred. They consider themselves deities dependent on the fact that human beings no longer have a common language for understanding each other. They want themselves to be the only speakers and to eliminate any others. We have no choice but to respect all cultures, all the achievement of civilization, all religions, and all intellectual currents that have influenced the intellectual and spiritual development of human beings. We must promote the theology of connection, rebuild destroyed bridges, and use intellectual enlightenment to combat fear and hatred. Celebrating Nowruz is a step towards protecting culture. Happy Nowruz to all of you.
Thank you, Ahmed Mohamed, for your beautiful remarks. Melanie, on to you.
نوبهار است در آن کوش که دلخوش باشی. نوبهار است در آن کوش که دلخوش باشی که بسی گل بدمد باز و تو در گل باشی. رئیس دولت بریتیش کلمبیا نتوانستند حضور یابند، اما پیام تبریک خودشون رو فرستادن و میدونیم که از چند سال پیش نوروز به تقویم استان اضافه شده. به همت خیلی از دوستانی که در این زیر سقف دور هم گرد آمدیم تشویق کنید دوستان رو، چون واقعا زحمت بسیار زیاد. And now we're going to read the statement by John Morgan, the Premier for British Columbia. Nowruz is a time of renewal. Old chapters are closed while new beginnings are embraced. As we emerge from the global pandemic, this sense of regeneration will be more keenly felt as we once again return to familiar celebration with friends and families. We share the spirit of solidarity between communities and generations with a special consideration for those celebrants in lands where such practices are discouraged or prohibited. On behalf of all British Columbians, I wish families around the province a happy and healthy year ahead. I join with you in a feeling of optimism on this first day of spring and hope for a brighter future it brings. Nowruzatan Peters. And now we have a few special guests here with us. I would love to welcome them here to stage to give their remarks. First, I would love to invite Andrew Mercier, the member of the Legislative Assembly for Langley.
Thank you. I'd like to just start by acknowledging that I'm on the ancestral territory of the Quon, Katzie, Matsqui, and Semiahmoo First Nations, and thank my friend Amir for inviting me. Amir is a champion of the Farsi language in British Columbia, and I would gladly assume about that. I'm looking forward to get together with Amir for a cup of coffee to talk about Farsi, to talk about things like the education system. So there's going to be some good conversations. But I want to say that we've heard from a lot of incredible speakers about the importance of Nowruz and 3,000 years of history of hope and resilience, and of the human spirit in times of conflict, oppression, and adversity that are unfortunately still going on under fundamentally fascist regimes right now. And to me, that really puts what we've gone through in the past 3 years of the pandemic into context, which is, this is a time of hope and resilience, and that's what keeps us going. That's what community is about. It's about family, friends, and getting together to celebrate that, and to celebrate traditions and heritage. And I think that we allow the space for that, and that we have events like this And you know, Langley is a community with a growing Farsi population. That we have that group is fundamental to having a tolerant democracy and to realizing that spirit. So I want to thank you for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the festivities. And Nowruz Mubarak.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to attend this amazing event right here in Langley East, my riding. It's been incredible the last few years watching events like this come forward, watching our community grow, and I want to thank Amir also for inviting me. I too am going to just take a moment to acknowledge that I'm on the traditional territories of the Scotland, Métis, Natsqueen, Semi-Namu First Nations. And it really is a privilege to be here to bring greetings on behalf of Premier John Horgan, BC Government. And I am, as I was introduced, a proud MLA for Langley East, which includes Willoughby, Walnut Grove, Fort Langley, Salmon River, and part of Murrayville, as well as a few other places. In addition to being an MLA, I'm also a poultry farmer in this area and proud parent of 2 children. I am thrilled to be here as your guest and to see such a great turnout from the local Afghan and Iranian community. And as my colleague mentioned, we are so fortunate and blessed to have you all here in British Columbia and have you in our community. I would like to also welcome all of those that are newcomers to Langley and just take a moment to let you know that my office is right here in Walnut Grove, and if there's anything I can ever do to help, please do not hesitate to come by. I'd like to just close by offering my blessings to each of you as you celebrate the equinox and the coming of spring. And thank you again for the opportunity to come and speak today and attend your festivities. Thank you very much.
And our next special guest is Katrina Arneson, Councillor for the Township of Langley. Is she here? Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would like to echo the comments of my colleagues. Welcome you all today. I also want to acknowledge our Indigenous land. Welcome everybody here on behalf of the Katzie First Nation, as well as the Kwantlen and Semi-Namu is a little to the distance, but I just really appreciate the wonderful invitation today to be with all of you. It's such a joy. This is actually my first experience, so it's very new to me. I feel refreshed and rejuvenated to listen to the wonderful comments and feel truly blessed, as I'm sure we all do, to be in a country that allows us our freedom of expression, that we can live according to our cultures and beliefs. And I really appreciate so much the very deep-seated words of poetry and history and the wonderful philosophy that we should all learn to live by, which is that we really are one big family. How to learn to get along, to live happy lives together based on culture and exchange. I think it's the most critical thing. And the message for me, and I just want to, after the fact, say, I'm bringing greetings from the Township of Langley to all of you. And thank you so much for coming today. And in appreciation for all of you being here. And just want to express, have a wonderful day. And I personally am very much looking forward to all of the wonderful culture that I know we're going to have. So I think it's really important. And thank you very much for coming today. Thank you.
And the last elected official today that sent her remarks, she couldn't offer to be here today because she's flying back to Ottawa, is Benita Zerlo, the Member of Parliament for Port Politico. This is not her writing, but because a big population of Afghans and Iranians do live in her writing, she wanted to send her warm remarks regarding Nowruz, and I'm going to be reading on behalf of her. So Benita says, Nowruz marks the new year for many in our community, but brings the joy of colors and celebration for everyone. I wish you and your loved ones a very happy Nowruz with success and good health throughout the year. Thank you. And then I'm going to continue with my name, Farsi. بوی باران، بوی سبزه، بوی خاک، شاخه‌های شسته باران خورده پاک، آسمان آبی و ابر سپید، برگ‌های سبز بید، عطر نرگس، رقص باد، نغمه شوق پرستوهای شاد، خلوت گرم کبوترهای مست، نرمک میرسد اینک بهار، خوش به حال روزگار. And now I would love to invite a dear member of our community, Soraya Karwani, to give her insights about the second generation's role and influence on Nowruz and preservation of our culture after immigration. Please welcome her.
Speaker, so it's going to be hard to follow up with you guys. But I just wanted to begin today by saying Assalamu alaikum wa Nowruz Mubarak. Harozutan Nowruz wa Nowruzutan Fidos. This morning, like many of you, I woke up and I had a delicious afternoon. I looked at my beautiful accent table and I spent the morning talking to my loved ones and spending quality time with them. The tradition of Nowruz and other cultural celebrations requires a conscious effort on your part to preserve. Many of us that celebrate this holiday have roots that are rich, histories that are colorful, and connections that go very deep. Cultural heritage is a legacy of physical artifacts, so that includes our buildings, our monuments, and it's also our intangible objects, which is our oral traditions, the stories your grandmother told you, your mother may have shared with you. And this is inherited from past generations, it's held by us today, and it benefits the future generations that we see among us today, those little kids that we see that are wearing their Afghan traditional clothes, and we're giving it them for their future benefit. So our heritage and our culture are reminders of not only who we are, but where we've come from. And as diaspora communities, our identity and sense of belonging has been strongly shaped by our migration experience. We are individuals who identify with our country or nation, but we're living outside of it. And therefore, for us, our cultural heritage, our national history, is a unique aspect of who we are today. As a society, we must make a conscious effort and try our best to be able to safeguard these valuable qualities and preserve them. And there's 3 ways that we can really do this, and many of us are already doing this every day. Number 1, education. We must continue communicating the importance of our culture and our traditions through educational approaches for the future generations as well as to the communities we're living in today. Number 2, awareness. Intangible forms of cultural heritage is fragile, especially as the world is becoming more and more globalized. So we do have a serious risk of losing some of these beautiful things that we're celebrating. So we must increase awareness, and we must support the intercultural dialogue and support diversity, and engage in mutual respect of ways of life of other people. And finally, sharing. Sharing our cultural heritage creates a sense of pride within ourselves and also within our community. We create these spaces like we have today to be able to rejoice and celebrate who we are and create a sense of belonging for us. What has been done today is one example of that. So thank you guys so much for hosting today. And finally, our culture makes us connected to communities and creates a safe space. And it connects a sense of belonging with a country, a tradition, or even different people. I'd like to thank everyone that has made the time to attend today and rejoice Nowruz. I hope that for many years to come, we continue celebrating and we continue preserving this rich tradition. Nowruz Mubarak, everybody.
Thank you so much, John, for that beautiful remarks. And I must say, it is definitely the new generation's responsibility to make sure that we preserve Nowruz. For example, my mom, whether she was sick, she was sleepy, she didn't have energy, every Nowruz, regardless understands, she got up, made halfway last, set up the half-seat table, because I've asked her, hey, why did you do this? And she's like, because I want to give an opportunity for you guys to be able to do the same. This is my responsibility to transfer all of this to you. So one day you're going to go ahead and do the same thing for your kids. So thank you so much for giving us those 4 tangible ways on how we can preserve and promote Nowruz and the richness of our culture. So